Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time it is where you are and where this video finds you. Um, Today, we're going to do a thing about Hamilton and national finances. And yes, we are talking about that Hamilton, Alexander Hamilton, one of the founding fathers of the United States, skilled in finance. Um, Also, it is that same Hamilton. In case you're wondering, who they have the stage play about that was wildly popular that you can find on Disney Plus that you or your parents have probably watched. So, Hamilton and national finances. Okay, first thing, national debt. After the war, the American Revolution, which the United States won over the British, in case you've somehow forgotten. The United States, after that war, owed 11.7 million to foreign countries and 40.4 million to U.S. citizens. So, foreign countries like France, Spain helped us fight against the British, as we learned before. U.S. citizens being joining the military for pay, they owe money to citizens to help win that war. Long, bloody war. You win independence. Now, how are you going to pay all that debt you promised to pay? Let's take a look at this. 40.4 plus 11.7 is about 52 million, right? So just for a frame of reference, my calculator says if you $52 million in 1790 is worth 1.47 billion dollars today, right? So yes, billion, 1.5 basically $1 billion. So they have to pay all that money back, just to tell you how much that was worth. So move my big head out of the way. So how are they going to pay that money back? One way is to print money and use bonds to collect money to pay back debt. Now here's a pretty basic example of how bonds work and what a bond is, right? A bond is it's you give. Let me get an example here. This is a bond. It's a U.S. savings bond, right? I have this bond. I I asked the citizens of the country to say, hey, you want to buy a bond for $50? We promise in 5 years it'll be worth $100. So, yeah, sure. So they give me the $50. I put it in the bank. I give them the bond. They return it in 5 years. They get their $75. So that's basically a very basic and simple example of how bonds work. So Hamilton wanted to pay back the debt immediately in one large sum by getting money from citizens, issuing those bonds. We'll pay it back later after we invest and give out loans and earn interest on it. We'll pay it back down the road. But right now, if we can get all that money, we can pay off all that debt and start fresh. States. The states owed about $25 million of debt. Hamilton wanted the federal government to pay for that debt. So if the federal government is paying for that debt, that also means that all the states, see them right here, kind of behind my picture here, all the states who pay taxes, their money will be going to pay off that debt. So if I'm in a state like, say, Georgia or North Carolina, the southern states didn't accumulate that much debt during the Revolution. Why should I have to help pay for the North debt through my taxes? So they are very much against it. The South felt like the North should have to pay the entire debt since they had more of it. They had run up all this debt to help win the war. We didn't run up any debt, so why should we have to help you pay for it? Was the idea. I think many people would think the same way. So one of the things the South had always wanted was the United States capital moved from the North to the South. So Hamilton used that as a bargaining chip. Like, say, hey, we can move the capital to the South if you agree to help us pay off the debt, agree to my debt plan. So he agreed, yes, we'll move the capital it was in New York City. They moved it a little further south to Philadelphia for 10 years and then permanently to Washington, D.C. And as most of you know, all of you should know the United States Capitol is in Washington, D.C. today. It was used as a bargaining chip to help the South, help the country pay back the war debt. So the reason why the South wanted the Capitol moved from the North to the South, they thought the people in the North had too much influence. So they thought, hey, one way to, there was more population in the North, more influence. They thought it's so far away from us, we need it here. So to help us gain some sort of influence in government when we have a lower population. So two men who are at odds over the idea of a national bank. Alexander Hamilton wanted a national bank to store money for the government, give out loans, earn interest, pay off the big debt, savings bonds, those kinds of things. So Thomas Jefferson was opposed to those kinds of things. He thought it was too big of a government getting too involved. The nation should not have a bank to control the money, to control one bank to control all the money, is what Thomas Jefferson basically thought. So Alexander Hamilton believed in a strong central government. He believed in big government programs like a national bank. Today, people complain about Obamacare as too big of a big government idea. That's what people are against it, the people who want small government. So Hamilton felt that the wealthy elite should be making most of the decisions. Thomas Jefferson, small government guy, thought the common man, regular folks like me, like farmers, should make the decisions for the country, or most of the decisions for the country. So he also wanted states to have more power and not have a big federal government. Sounds too close to something that could get out of hand. A big government will grow to be too big, possibly. Alexander Hamilton wanted an economy based on business and manufacturing. Thomas Jefferson thought farmers made America's economy successful. So again, common man, farmers, they relied on themselves, picked themselves up, went to work, worked hard, earned their own money, sold their goods. But Hamilton thought business and manufacturing that counted on making sales and getting loans and things like that. He thought that was the best way to go. So Hamilton also wanted higher tariffs or foreign taxes so people would buy items in the USA. You probably heard about that before. Jefferson wanted lower tariffs to help farmers keep their growing costs low. So a tariff, foreign taxes, they don't want you buying foreign goods. They don't want you buying something from China, say, would be an example from today. They want you to buy U.S. goods. So very high prices on foreign goods to make people buy local. And Thomas Jefferson wanted lower tariffs to help farmers keep their growing costs low. So when they buy something, they can buy machinery or goods from, say, overseas, and with low tariffs, it would help them out a little bit with growing their crops. Okay, National Bank. Here's where the National Bank comes in. So Hamilton wanted a bank where the government could safely deposit its money. Again, like I gave the example about savings bonds and collecting taxes and having all the money in a central location in the National Bank. The bank, like I said, could also make loans to the government and to businesses. We'll give you this loan to sell t-shirts or jeans or whatever. When you pay it back, you have to pay it back with 20% interest. So that's how banks make money on loans. So a big national bank, one bank. He also wanted a national mint where the USA could print coins and begin issuing its own money. Remember, like we've gone over before, the original 13 colonies and original 13 states, each state had its own money. They wanted to unify that and have one currency for the entire United States, which, again, we have now. So the National Bank. So was there a national bank? Here's the end result. So Hamilton, again, believes in loose construction, which means big government. When you see loose construction, think big government. Jefferson believed in strict construction, small government. So meaning Jefferson did not want a national bank. Hamilton thought we needed a national bank to give loans and store money and things like that. Jefferson thought people should be responsible for their own things. Government shouldn't be involved in people's lives. So what happened? the National Bank actually got passed and it was open. President Washington and Congress agreed with Hamilton that a national bank was a good idea. So in February of 1791, the Bank of the United States was established. So, yes, the National Bank was established in 1791. It had a 20-year contract. It was around for those 20 years, and then it was dissolved after that. It's considered a failure. We don't have national banks today. We have private banks, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, and other banking institutions. So that was how the government went about basically paying back the war debt from the American Revolution.